The new Battle of Osgiliath starter set for the Middle-earth strategy battle game is without a doubt one of my favorite box sets that Games Workshop has put out in recent years. It's jam-packed with great models and lots of terrain pieces. I was lucky enough to be gifted the box set over the holidays, and immediately I knew I wanted to build a small Osgiliath board to go with it. Unfortunately, I caught the flu around the same time, which ended up evolving into a nasty sinus infection. So while I was feeling a bit like Gothmog looks, I painstakingly began my build. First, I chopped all the terrain bits off their sprues and cleaned them up. It was at this point I absolutely fell in love with the new terrain kits. Naturally, I went onto eBay and bought a second sprue of the ruins. My plan being to build a starter set ruins following the instructions, and use the eBay sprue to build one giant centerpiece ruin. We start the board build with two 1/2-inch thick MDF boards. These are cut 2 feet by 2 feet to give us a 2x4 table. On top of the MDF goes 1-inch thick XPS foam. Here, I draw a guide for my riverbank. I want the board to have a small section so I can recreate the classic scene of the orcs crossing the Anduin by boat. I've always loved the visual of the ruins sinking into the river, so I'm going to replicate that by having the seawall crumbling. I used my handheld hot wire cutter to chop away the sections not needed. Next, we secure the XPS to the MDF boards. To do this, I use Gorilla Glue construction adhesive. I apply it thick and then spread it out for an even bond. After the XPS is secured, I start working on the ground texture for the boards. I want there to be sections of cobblestone to help sell the fact that this was once a city. To do this, I apply DOS clay in various sections. After the clay is down, I use a cobblestone texture roller from Green Stuff World, making sure the roller is nice and wet so the clay doesn't stick to it. After texturing the clay, I apply drywall compound to all the spaces between. This will serve as the base ground texture under our rubble. After letting the clay and drywall compound dry overnight, we are ready to throw down our gravel. I spread a thick heap of PVA glue all over the board. Then I began applying gravel and rocks in various sizes, starting with fine sand and working my way up in size. After letting the rocks set for a bit, I then began to seal them in with more glue. To do this, I cover the whole board by spraying it with isopropyl alcohol, and then spray it down with a water PVA glue mixture. And after letting that glue dry, more glue. This time we coat the entire board with Mod Podge and black paint that's been mixed together. This has the dual purpose of undercoating the board with paint and then further sealing in everything. After the black Mod Podge dries, I start dry brushing the entire board with a neutral medium stone gray paint. Then, after that, I hit the entire board with a really light granite gray dry brush. With all the dry brushing complete, we can paint the riverbed. I wanted the river to have a really deep blue color, so here I'm using a mixture of 2 different blues. With the blue paint dry and some extra ruins glued down to sell the sunken ruins effect, we can now set up for our resin pour. I cut up an old clear plastic sheet from one of those cheap poster frames. We'll use the plastic sheets as a dam to make sure the resin doesn't drip all over my kitchen table. Hot glue secures the dam wall to the MDF. I carefully fit it all the way around. Now I go around all the clear plastic from underneath, adding a thick bead of hot glue over the entire thing, making sure it's sealed in its entirety. Then, from the inside, I seal it further with a thick layer of Mod Podge. You can never be too careful in making sure there are no leaks when working with resins. The resin I used for this build was the Mod Podge brand. I had never tried this resin before, but I figured they're a trustworthy brand. I saw it in my local Walmart, so I figured I'd give it a shot. The key to any safe resin pour is to follow the specific instructions carefully. If you do that, you should be problems free. I tinted my resin with a few drops of blue ink. All in all, I used 64 ounces of resin on this build. A lot of freaking resin. When using lots of resin, it's best to do it in 1/8 inch layers, allowing 24 hours to dry in between. With the desired depth that I had to do 4 layers over the course of 5-ish days. After the resin fully cured, I began applying Vallejo clear water texture paste. This adds a little texture volume and life to the water by giving it small ripples and waves. And there we have it, onto some B-roll and glamour shots. I absolutely cannot wait to get some games in on this board. If you enjoyed this video and enjoyed following the process of the build, please take the time to subscribe and like the video. Until next time guys, thanks for watching, I'll catch you soon.